Thanks for giving me an update on our regional schedule. Gonna go to work soon.
Big match coming up. Big match.
Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee, Derek Brandeo, and Jake the Snake Schultz with you for the next 2 hours as we get into our Leaf Edition hour. Toronto Maple Leafs snap their 3-game losing streak. They snap the Winnipeg Jets 8-0 start out of the gate. And the Jets don't come close to the Leaf 10-0 run that started in 94. They got out of the gate. Only fitting, right? The Leafs shut down the Winnipeg last night.
Defended the Leafs' history. That's great. The Jets had beaten no one. You go back and look at that. They had beaten no one. I'm just saying.
Jets slander right out the gate.
They beat the Oilers in game 1, and then they beat 7 non-playoff teams.
All right.
I did it.
Listen, I'm not trying to take away from the Leafs. I'm just saying
was
it's
that
true.
When Sean Reynolds was on yesterday?
He said it.
He said it, but you needed to say it right out of the gate. It's over.
This is Leafs hour. No one's listening in Winnipeg anymore. That team's no good.
I did the exact same thing on Leafs Talk last night. Oh yeah, I went through the schedule. It's like bad win.
Bad. They're fine. The Jets are fine.
Yeah.
Where are we on style of play for 60 minutes or end result? A little bit of both. Not so much one way than the other, but like, what was the most important thing out of last night you got from the Toronto Maple Leafs?
Before you get into that,
yes.
Just that drop that we just played, is there anything better than beating the Leafs? They have not beat the Leafs since then. The Leafs are 6-0 since that clip.
It's just Shifley said.
Anyways, continue.
So is that like now?
That's the new Bambino curse.
Yeah, is that the curse?
Sure.
Let's hear it. No, okay.
Better than beating the Leafs? Hey? Is there anything better than beating the Leafs? Hey? Anything better?
How far ago was that?
While ago, 6 games.
Couple years.
Like what? 4 years? They only play each other like once a year or twice a year.
That was probably 2021, 2022. I can't remember.
I'll say the biggest takeaway for me is getting up 4-0. You know, like they went out there. There was question marks. What were the shots in the first period? 18-6 or something, pretty out of hand. Like the Leafs went out there, and we talked about crisis of identity.
Yes.
And I thought they went out there and did the Berube things. They went out there and straight lines, physical, took care of business. And you?
Energy-wise, like the gaps between a forecheck or the defense closing off the middle of the ice or the back pressure came through again for me. Like, as consistent as we saw against Tampa, no. Yeah. But they had much better energy. I thought they, from top to bottom, they had a sense of urgency into we really sucked and we need to end this now.
I think what's crazy is that didn't happen against St. Louis after Columbus. Like I thought that was the game we were going to get last night's effort, but I do take some comfort in that the things I've thought about this team are visible last night. That when there is that buy-in and committed, everyone plays the same way. It can look really good. It looked really good for a lot of last night.
Just do your job.
Yeah, things started to slip a little bit. By and large, I thought they did their job.
Sammy, I didn't catch any of your post-game show last night.
Do you usually catch that?
No, but I thought it was appropriate that I opened up with a comment that maybe some people would imply or believe that I would have watched it, but I got busy or...
Yeah, listen, it's okay.
You don't sleep?
Yeah, listen, I don't go to sleep much long. Like, after Leafs Talk's done, it's not long till I'm asleep either. But
what did you and JD kind of chew on after?
I think the second line coming together there of going back to the well of Tavares and Nylander and moving Pacioretty up there is something that I was not a fan of. I don't think any of us were a fan of. And I think there's been a lot of conversation about the decline of John Tavares, which is fair. I think it's a real conversation. But then I also do feel a little bit guilty that when you put him with 2 NHL caliber wingers, he doesn't look so bad anymore, right? Like he was, to start this year, he's playing with whoever at the bottom half of the lineup, Nick Robertson, Holmberg, whoever they'd put him with, McMahon. They put him with 2 good wingers, and he starts to look a little better. So I did feel a little guilty watching last night, him having a good game.
Patrick gets him to 5 goals, 4 assists, 9 points in 9 games. With Max Pacioretty, John Tavares, and William Nylander on the ice versus the Jets, the shot attempts were 16-7. The expected goals 87%, and goals were 4-0 for the Leafs with that line on the ice. I don't know if that's a line I would bet on long term, but I thought Pacioretty looked really good. I actually thought he's looked good
Listen, they
generally for them when he's in.
best line out there. No one could touch the 9 points that they provided. I tip my hat to John Tavares because he came in feeling it for sure.
Yeah.
And, a lot of things that he's going through in the last little while that he's never experienced his whole career, including losing the captaincy and included losing his regular spot at second line center, including down a minute and a half
Playing
of your
16
ice
minutes,
time.
Yeah.
Like all of it.
Off the top power play unit,
Well,
PP2.
that just kind of recently happened,
Yeah.
but he's been forever since he signed a huge part of the Toronto Maple Leaf power play that is
An effective
taken
part of it.
an effective part and taking a ton of heat. So he's also feeling that on his shoulders. And for him to come in and score 3 goals, I thought was says a lot, about still where he thinks he is or where he thinks he should be. And that one was a reminder that this is kind of what people were expecting, I think, since the moment he signed 6 years ago, a $77 million contract.
It's funny because he has such a nose for the net. That's just one of the things he does very well, and he plays in that blue paint. It's why it's so perplexing when he has stretches at 5-on-5 where he won't score for 20 games.
Well, the one thing that he's been notorious for is he's got great timing around the net.
Yeah, he knows.
And
when to
last
show
night
up.
was, again, a simple situation where Pacioretty on the first goal makes an unbelievable slide over on one-handed.
One-hander.
But, you got to be there, and you got to sense it. And he's always had great timing in front of the net, and that's been his bread and butter. But if it's not there and there is no puck luck as well, then, listen, I'm not taking away anything out of the 9 points that they had, but there was some puck luck.
Yeah.
Which is
Over the course of the season, you have some nights where you get it.
And right now, Austin does not have it.
No.
And I thought Austin was better. I thought he was more forceful last night. I think him and Mitch had the puck all night last night for me. But right now, what's missing with Austin is some puck luck.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, his shooting percentage, 16. Usually he's at 7% this year. Some pucks are going to go in. Do you want to hear Berube? So we got a few on Berube, and we've talked about a few of these things. Overview of the game on the start or on that line. Any of them work for me. Is there anywhere you want to start in particular?
Yeah, I want to get a sense of Berube and what he thought of last night's game.
Sure. Start with that overview. Clip 1.
I thought we were really good 5-on-5 tonight, Played the right way the whole game. Penalties got us in trouble. We got to do a better job there of not taking them, but also getting the kills. And, the 6-on-5 goal, the goalie out. We got to do a better job there, but it was a very good game. Very solid game by our team. I thought everybody was really working and competing and skating and playing the right way.
All right, 5-on-5. That's,
well, and John Tavares, it's been an issue with him 5-on-5. He's on for all 3 goals, even strength.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was his 4th hat trick as a Toronto Maple Leaf.
Correct.
Without knowing what happened in the other 3 hat tricks, I'd probably say this was the first one where all 3 of them came even strength. I don't know. Maybe
One's
it's
with the
not.
goalie out. So,
Maybe it's not.
Yeah.
But
I think you're probably
Luckily, I wear this magical amulet.
He got the magic last
you
night.
think
The universe aligned
it
for him.
kicked in?
I think it finally clicked.
Maybe the flu's over and he's feeling 100% again.
Maybe he's back. Why don't we go to Berube for his thoughts on that line with Willie Tavares and Max Pacioretty? Clip 3, please.
Well, they had a heck of a game, right? They got it done offensively, and I thought that, they went up against Scheifele's line for most of the game, and they were very good defensively.
Yeah, sounds about right. Very good defensively. It's a strong line. I'm surprised they had such a good night, I'll be honest.
Same.
Don't love the construction of that line. It's not, to me, it's shooter, shooter, shooter. So,
Yeah.
They got a couple of bounces and stuff, and that's great. And I even made some nice passes. I don't want to take away from last night. I'm saying long term with that line, I'm not sold. It's a keeper.
for the regular season, though, like maybe that this is a wake-up call that you stop trying to make something other than John Tavares as the second-line center happen until you have something that is better than that. Maybe you look at the deadline or look what they do, but I don't know. Just watching him play with Willie, none of us love it, but is it not the best option for your second line still? You know, we talked about finding something that was lost yesterday, searching for your wallet. Maybe you actually found your wallet here and you just have to put it in your pocket and stick with it. I don't love it. No one loves it, but I think it's better than probably Max Domi, isn't it?
Probably, yeah. Probably the case.
Or you just keep going with the flow.
See who's going and you put somebody in there.
I don't imagine that last night really, to your point, JB, has changed their feeling about, wow, John's back, or this is the John that we're going to get now the rest of the season.
We don't have to solve this problem.
Right?
It's still a problem.
Like he still showed us last night he's a second-line centerman in the National Hockey League.
But I do wonder, Kip, like
that didn't happen, did it, last night?
No, but I think it does bring up the question, how many second-line centers in the NHL, even on the good teams, are 65, 70-point guys? You know, probably not a ton. That's a good number. It's a lot of points.
Yeah, but that's just one-dimensional thinking.
It is one-dimensional thinking.
Right?
Yeah.
And
Had him out there with the goalie
John's
last
issue
night.
isn't he doesn't know where to stand in front of the net. I can assure you.
No.
But where the issues have been is carrying the puck over the blue line, making right decisions.
Yeah, when the games get heavier and faster,
Not
so you're going to be able to
Not
stand
finding
there.
yourself on the right side of a 50-50 puck and then watching the puck leave a zone. So those are still, I think, the concerns of the Leafs moving forward, and ultimately what does it look like? So to Sammy's point, just when it's going, and when it's not,
You move somebody out.
move Max in,
Yeah.
move Holmberg up, move Kampf up, whatever the case is.
Let's why don't we hear what Max Pacioretty weighed in on moving up the lineup.
I thought this was very interesting.
Get his
So,
thoughts.
play that.
Yeah, a bit. I mean, obviously, I was like playing a little bit of a different role here to start, and so to get bumped up and know that there's a chance here to pitch in and play a little bit more and pitch in offensively. I knew I had to, bring my A game, I guess. And like I said, it's just easy to play with those guys, and as long as I'm moving my feet, I think that I can fit in with them.
Max Pacioretty, 2 goals and 3 assists, 5 points in 7 games. He's +4, and that's in 11:35 of ice time per game. Pretty efficient minutes he's given the Leafs when he's been in.
Yeah, and when he's moving his feet and when he feels good.
But that's him and Tavares. The two of
Right.
them, they can be very effective when they're moving out there.
But at least Tavares is still a guy that you pencil in every day. They're not there with Pacioretty. They're not convinced.
But are you not so far? Like, I've seen enough now where I'm like, he's definitely better than
Oh no,
having Holmberg in there or having
no,
McMahon
I'm
or-
not there.
Oh,
No. Well, because there's
maybe not
just
McMahon. McMahon's bad.
it's just the stretch
How about Robertson?
that you can go with. Too small.
Yeah, I'm saying like
He's not-
Pacioretty's probably ahead of him, right? Like it's game
I
one
don't
against
think-
Boston tonight. Who you got?
I just to Craig Berube's point, who's the opponent? How big are they? Who do I want in? Who do I want out? Unless some of these guys like McMahon, Pacioretty, Holmberg, Robertson step up and say, guess what? I ain't leaving the lineup.
Yeah.
This is the last time I'm a healthy scratch, and I'm gonna make it so hard for you to take me out of the lineup. I'm done with the healthy scratch. Until one of those guys says that, all you're going to see is probably a revolving door.
Yeah. How about Thursday night is the day that players can come off IR, long-term IR. So Dewar is going to be available after Halloween. So is Hakanpää. So both guys, I think their combined salary is about $2.7 million. I mean, if they're ready to go, someone's going to have to go. Like, presumably Myers will go down to the American Hockey League, but someone else is going to have to move because these guys they're bringing in are pretty good players. Like, they're scratching pretty good hockey players, and a trade is probably going to have to happen unless you waive, I don't know, pick a name.
But to go back to the Pacioretty thing, like, that's a good point. But for now, for a couple of games here, he's played his way out of the press box rotation for me.
Yeah.
Like he's bigger. He's got touch.
And he can hit.
And he's
can make
using his
plays,
weight.
right?
Like, I mean, half the plays last night that he made, all the goals were direct, off of his hard work. The pass he makes to Willie, who does the behind the back, pokes it in front of the net.
We're really back to where we were a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago. Yeah, but how often can you do it?
Mm-hmm.
And how often do you want to do it?
How often do you need a guy to do it who's making $850,000? Like, I mean, what's a good output for his number? And it's probably, if he does that once every 4 games, 3 games, pretty good.
He has done it, as opposed to Robertson or Holmberg, who have done nothing.
But then dress him 1 out of every 4 games, not
You just don't know the
4
games
out of
he's gonna
4.
do it.
What's that?
You just don't know the games you're going to get it, right? Like,
Well,
you kind of got to keep.
You've proven if he's well rested, you can get something good out of him or piss him off. That really helps players be motivated when they're pissed off for being a healthy scratch.
Our buddy Bunk is calling Nick Robertson scratch and score. Isn't he? It was like last year he would get scratched and come in and score.
So
Saturday night against Seattle, here comes a Nick Robertson
until you get a
goal.
level of consistency. But when Patches felt good and had good legs and is motivated, like he hits.
Yeah.
He hits.
Big guy.
Plus he's got a lot of touch.
McMahon's got to hit like Pacioretty when he's feeling good.
We talked about this off air yesterday, that like, if you know the coach wants you to be a certain type of guy. I was saying that I wasn't a certain type of guy, but there were times when I was like, I know my coach really wants me to go be something I'm not. I'll fight someone, get beat up, whatever. It's crazy to me that one of these guys hasn't been like, I'm going to win Berube's love and go do something like that.
And I told you that's a bad idea. It's a bad idea. Because
you don't think if Bobby McMahon went out there,
it's better to do nothing than go in there and have your attitude that I'm going to get beat up, but I'm at least going to show you
it wasn't
this.
my attitude. It was just what happened. I didn't plan on losing.
but I can already.
But it's a willingness.
I can already sense that you don't believe in the role, and you're just doing it for the sake of doing it, and that's not the purpose of going and confront somebody.
Well, listen, McMahon's never going to be it, though. He doesn't want to be that.
If he doesn't, and he's not scoring 20 goals or 25 goals, buddy, then time to leave.
But give me the guy who's willing to try the thing you want him to do. And I'm just surprised. I'm not saying he should. I don't think that's.
Yeah.
But it's just surprising that none of those guys have been like, okay, well, Holmberg fought in preseason, didn't he?
He did.
But if there's not a part of you that
and he's got a lot of love from the
that
coach.
has enough fire in your belly to go in there and just fight for yourself and your pride, like it serves no purpose to go in there and get beat up or end up at the bottom of a pile when you really had no business doing it.
I just think it shows your coach you're paying attention to what he wants you to do and earns you more opportunity.
Yeah.
And right now, Holmberg has been given so much opportunity this year. And has he been any better than McMahon?
I totally agree. Like it's the consistency. We've seen flashes out of all of them that they can be pretty good hockey players.
Yeah.
And like that depth is so needed. Obviously, the Leafs have extraordinary talent, and I don't think scoring 95 or 100 points again this year will be an issue. But that consistency that you're talking about to beat a Florida, a Tampa Bay, a Boston in the first round and then face one of the teams I just mentioned and maybe in the second round to get to a potential of a conference final, you got to be well trained over 82 games to show up when you don't feel like doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't consistency expensive, though, in terms of players? Like
that's tons of guys can get you one every 4 games. If you do it all the time, you're rich.
That's why, you pay $40 million for 4 forwards. You're going to have to live with some inconsistencies in the bottom half of your lineup, I think.
I like the line.
But it's
consistency's expensive.
listen,
It is.
the whole idea is to have developed that by now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, again, where the Leafs have failed. Like Pontus Holmberg, his development should be so advanced for me that he should be doing what Lindell's done.
That's a great analogy in Florida.
In Florida.
He's so good.
Where it's like big, strong guy, knows he'll never be a top 6 star, but come in and just hold your own and be big and miserable and play 200 feet and have that skill. And like Lundell doesn't have the issues. Florida doesn't have the issues with a Lundell or some of their guys on the third or fourth line coming in and out.
No. Bigger issue last night for me. Special teams still not fixed. We give him all this praise. Go ahead.
Just the Lundell thing. Like, I mean, he's a first-round pick. Like, he's a top 15 guy.
Yeah.
Picked in the draft. Like, he's a pedigree guy. Like, what is Holmberg? Like, he's
undrafted?
He's a fourth, fifth, like, or maybe he's a third, fourth-round pick. Like, it's a little difference between a guy that's drafted in the top 15 and a guy who's a third-round pick they're trying to develop.
But when the dust settles, Sammy, the dust settles, they're more comparable than not. Like, no one's saying Lundell's failed or as a 15th overall pick.
He's 12th.
12th overall?
Yeah. Holmberg is a 6th
But no one's
pick.
saying that he's underachieved or failed.
He's a Stanley Cup champion.
You just paid a heavy price for a guy that could come in and be big and strong.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes you can get lucky and you don't have to spend a first-round pick, but you can sign one as a free agent. But it's the development over the last 3 or 4 years that matter.
Mm-hmm.
Matthew Nyes is not a first-round pick. But when he's negotiating with the Toronto Maple Leafs, he will act like one of the top 22-year-olds in the world.
I know you gave us your Slavkovsky comparable the other day.
Buddy, Slavkovsky, Quentin Byfield, Seth Jarvis, all of them. He's in that class where if you want to sign him to a long-term deal, then you better be talking about $6.5 million to $8 million times 8. That's where Matthew Nyes has gone.
Jeez.
I mean, what did Quentin Byfield sign for? Not that.
Would you Google it, please?
I'm just looking right now. I just remember he just signed a contract. He's 5 years, $5.5 million. Like, if you are the Leafs, you're not going to make more than
30.
Byfield. Byfield scored 20 goals in the year. He's a center.
Buddy, right now, Matthew Nyes is more valuable than Byfield right now to Los Angeles.
I think I would. Well, so his cap it's 6.25.
I don't know where.
6.25?
Yeah, for 5 years.
I'd sign Byfield's?
I'd sign
6.25.
Yeah.
That's what I said.
Didn't you say 8?
I said 6.5 to 8.
Okay.
Am I in the ballpark?
I don't know. I had not anticipated a number like that, so it doesn't feel like you are, but maybe you are. I don't know.
To buy UFA years off of these kids who are looking like sure bets, that's where that marketplace is.
Do you think they'll negotiate with Nyes in season? He's got 6 points in 10 games here.
He's a horse right now. Like last night, again, like was that shorthanded rush where he did that little pivot in the neutral zone or in the slot? He's doing things now that you go, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, he scored a lot in his life. You can see he sniffs it out pretty good. He can create
and
his
he's
own
heavy.
looks.
And he's heavy.
He's also killing penalties now too.
Yeah, it was shorthanded, the play that I was talking about.
I want to say he's up 2 to 3 minutes per game.
I don't know if there's a huge rush to get there, but you could bridge him, right? At 3.5, I don't know, and go from there. But all I'm saying is that he's turning into a very important player right now.
Yeah, he's been awesome. He really is a bright spot in this season and just a fun player to watch because you feel like he's going to win puck battles. He's going to create chances. Really a fun Maple Leaf right now.
The thing is with the way that they've traded away picks, and rightfully so, in your competitive window, you're going to trade away first-round picks. That's how they got Jake McCabe. They got a first-round pick. Like, there's things you're going to trade away first for. But the hope is that you would have had a Matthew Nyes on defense, too. That a guy that comes up and is developed and is playing in your top half of your D-core, or like another guy that's like a Matthew Nyes. They've just had so little help from the draft, and that's why they've had to sign guys to minimum contracts and try this stuff. And I think that's why Matthew Nyes sticks out. It's nice to have a guy. What's he make? He's on a minimum contract contributing on your top line. Sure, you're going to have to pay him. But right now, what he's making and what he's giving you, he is, in terms of importance to the Leafs, he is so high on the list. Like, I love watching
Picture
him play
that
right now.
left side without him.
Yeah, him and McCabe are
bleak.
more crucial than people think.
It's bleak without him. He is a horse right now, and he's getting better every game, boys. He's improving.
He is.
Okay, the one thing that you mentioned was the power play.
Yeah. Still nothing. What are they? 3 for 32 on the season now. 9% puts them at 29th in the NHL, I believe.
Don't shoot the messenger here, but progress last night on 0 for 2?
Yeah.
I thought it looked so much better.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I thought
And
you guys were gonna get
only
mad at me
one
for
main
that.
reason: Marner had the puck more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about Willie, by the way? Last year was getting like 18 shots per 60 or whatever. He's down to like 8. He never gets shots anymore. Now he's off it. I wonder if that's part of their lack of success. But anyway, he's not on that unit. So,
You know what it is for me? They're not deferring to each other.
Mhm.
Like there just seems to be more defined roles as opposed to on the top one when it's all those guys are like, oh, I'll pass to him, I'll pass to him, I'll pass. Way less deferring last night. Way more towards the net.
All right, let's go to Craig Berube on a Kyper's clipper on his power play.
I thought it was really good. I really liked what I saw by both units. Went downhill, they shot, recovered, attacked right away. It didn't go in, but I thought that they looked good to me.
all right, so some progress. That's good.
And Morgan found a way to score a couple of goals in the last few games. And
That shot of his, by the way, Willie, great dish. And the shot by Morgan was unbelievable.
That's the best shot of his career.
Think so?
he's had a few.
Not like that. He stares down Connor Hellebuyck, who's supposedly one of the best goalies in the world, and goes bar down on him over his left shoulder. That's the best shot I've ever seen Morgan Riley have. I'll say it.
All right. Well, we expected a little more from him offensively this year. So hopefully this is the start of him breaking out.
Stolar still finds a way to get his W's. I think he maybe came back to earth a little bit. But when you come back to earth a little bit and still find a way to win, that's a really good sign.
He made some good saves. I find he reads backdoor plays really well, gets across in plays where you're like, oh, boy. And he's like, okay, he's across and solid. Yeah, a couple went in that maybe he didn't love, but.
It was the first game where I was like,
Does anybody kind of catch and release better than Kyle Connor right now?
No, I mean, he's
that's off the chart stuff.
one of his goals got taken
really-
away. It wasn't a hat trick.
his Velarde or something.
Yeah.
Really impressive, though.
Yeah.
And their power play still looks dynamite, even though that I thought they were so flat to start the game.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they were tired coming off a couple of games on the road and that early adjustment, but they were behind a step. And I thought Hellebuyck had a chance to get pulled at 4-0, and it just didn't happen.
Yeah.
He was.
You see Sam chirping him on
Twitter?
Twitter?
He was first round Hellebuyck.
There's
Did
not
you
a
see him on Twitter? Is Sam?
No, I did not.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not a goalie in the world, like a quote unquote good goalie that I have less, fear of than him.
He's not afraid of him in the Four Nations face
Well,
off
he'll
for
be
Canada.
the third goalie. Like like last night he was swimming all over the place.
Last year.
You could trick me. Like I every game I watch him. Like I guess I don't watch him much in the regular season. I watch him in the playoffs. He gets lit up. Every game against the Leafs, they shoot 5 or 6 by him. I don't know.
Bunkus
I
was
don't
like,
see
you're
it.
jinxing Canada. And I think
Oh,
Sam
yeah.
said, never seen him play a good game. I think McKee responded.
That's true. I don't know. He just swims around and like
his body language just says, "I've never given up a bad goal in my life."
Right. Which you want your goalie to feel that way.
Okay.
You know?
But every once in a while,
When you are giving
wear
him up-
one, maybe.
Yeah. No.
when you are giving him up, like I don't know
Flawless.
who.
Hellebuyck, in his opinion.
Oh yeah.
He believes himself to be flawless.
Well, it is nice. I think you mentioned the Jets not looking a little tired. You could tell that one of these teams is on an 8-game winning streak on the first game home from a road trip, and one team is market
Hated
is
it.
burning,
Yeah.
where they're writing articles about how like Leaf fans like how much more can they take and all this different stuff. You could definitely see that, and I needed that one last night for my mental health. It's nice to see.
We called it. We
And
called it yesterday coming out of the show that they would
There
win
were
that game.
tons of chants too, right? I mean, it was just half the building must have been Leaf fans.
Yeah.
Well, I was upset with the Amazon. Forsland was like, "Oh, the Jets fans are really into it." I'm like, "Those are Leaf fans." Forsey, they're Leaf fans. He's saying, "I'm like, it's go Leafs, go." It's clearly, and they're like, the Jets fans are really chanting it. I'm like, no, it was the Leafs.
The best thing about having a Forsland and is it Thomas Hickey
Yeah.
on the call is that they don't watch the Leafs every day and don't have the scars, so they don't know how it all goes all the time. They just say positive things all the time.
Yeah.
If you watch long enough, you know how this
Buddy,
this movie ends.
They're selling subscriptions. All right.
Actually, the way the Leafs played last night, I'm going to start calling them the Bezos boys. They're red hot. They're red hot on
That
Amazon.
power play was red hot.
Oh my God.
What wasn't red hot? Matthew's red hot. Everything's
But the Jets' power play is terrifying.
He's very good.
They find Kyle Connor in the right spot and he shoots it in.
Yeah.
So
And
good for
that's honest. Like that's one thing the Leafs have to aspire is to. There's no reason why they shouldn't be able to move a puck like that quickly. And even Scheifele's cross ice seam pass, that one gets broken up time and time again. If you're the Leafs, and that one finds a way to get through. Like, what is the difference?
Not sure the answer there, but it needs to be figured out. We
Okay.
should get to
them.
Ralphie.
What-
All right.
Oh,
Go ahead, Sammy.
well, no, I was just going to say that I wanted to point out a play that Tanev made last night, but it's not necessarily important. But at the end of the game, he was on for a couple against last night. I didn't think he had his strongest game.
Mhm.
End of the third period, they pull the goalie. The puck gets rimmed around. There's a couple Jets chasing him. He's under pressure. He's on the right side of the ice with a right-hand shot, picks it out of the corner, makes a great saucer pass to Tavares, and Tavares backhands it in. And I'm just thinking to myself, what would DJ Brody have done in that situation?
Rim it into someone's skates.
He would have beat it to a square, and Kyle Connor would
Is
have shot it
anyone
into
close
tie.
in the league to him in block shots?
Oh my God,
I don't know.
he eats them.
Poor guy.
Eats them.
It's all he does. It's
I've
unbelievable.
Never
Give that man his
seen-
money because that doesn't look fun.
I've never seen a player in 40 years put himself in such vulnerable and dangerous places constantly as he does.
The
It's unreal.
second highest shot block total on the Leafs is Jake McCabe with 20, and Tanev has 38.
Oh
So
my
almost double the second.
38?
That is first in the NHL ahead of Rasmus Anderson by 6.
Yeah.
He's running away with the block shot lead.
Come
here.
on.
That's insane. Well, just
It's just
Chris, if you're listening,
stop
just
it.
one flamingo. Give me a flamingo.
pray for the 15 games that is in February and not
we
April.
will-
I don't know if I ever blocked 38 shots lifetime. Lifetime. I may not have blocked 38 shots.
We won't make fun of him if he flamingos one.
Yeah, you will.
2-foot jump, if you ask me.
All right.
Okay, let's take a quick break. When we return, we'll get Jim Ralph's thoughts on what happened last night. Winnipeg Jets get their winning streak shut down by the Toronto Maple Leafs. In the top of the hour, we welcome back Steve Valiquette, analyst with the New York Rangers, MSG, and also a great guest of our show. Now on Tuesdays, we'll get into a ton with him, including all the juicy stuff that you like, JB.
Like that.
Yep, analytics, baby.
Sexy stuff.
More when we return to Real Kyper and Bourne. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee. Still a terrific show coming up. In moments, we'll welcome in Jim Ralph. Called the game last night. Toronto Maple Leaf Radio color analyst. Top of the hour, Steve Valiquette. And then we'll welcome back our orthopedic surgeon, Dr. Jason Smith. I don't know.
Kipper, I have never met anyone whose
I don't
phone
know.
makes more sounds. Like not just one sound, but like
variety.
there's different notifications, wind chimes. It used
Because
to be
it'll-
used to be a Scarface thing for a little while.
It allows you to kind of
Differentiate.
Yeah.
differentiate.
It does.
Except I,
Message, that's
I
a
can't
reminder,
remember
it's an email.
whose is what. That's my biggest problem. But that's like six concussions, right?
We have our guest.
Yeah. See.
Do we talk Joseph Woll? Is he going to play again?
Now, if I didn't have 6 concussions, I'd remember who it is.
We have Jim Ralph.
Jim
today.
Ralph.
Yeah.
Ralphie, what's going on, buddy?
How many concussions did I see live?
Far too many. How are you, pal?
Good. And I appreciate you having me on after a win.
Yes, exactly. It's not always doom and gloom around here covering the Toronto Maple Leafs. So enough for you to say they put a few issues behind them from last week moving forward against Seattle Thursday night at home?
Yeah, I think we saw a little more of what we saw in the first 5 or 6 games last night. As far as, I mean, you look at, I think every goal but the empty netter started with dumping the puck in and going after it. And so it wasn't the great 3-way passing play coming over the blue line. It was, I go back to that first win against New Jersey, the first win of the season for them, where they had 3 in the first period, and they were all of the ugly kind, bouncing pucks in the crease and tip-ins and screens, and that's what they got back to doing. And It doesn't mean that the skill isn't there where you can't utilize it at the right time. But I think they got back to not giving up the odd man rushes, not cheating on the forecheck, and they won far more one-on-one battles than they did the 3 or 4 previous games.
Ralphie, what do you make so far of the way Craig Berube has evaluated this Leafs roster? Obviously, some guys are getting a little bit more love than previous coach, and some guys getting less. Any surprises in terms of who he's decided he likes and who he doesn't seem to like?
Well, I think he likes Max Pacioretty a lot more now than he.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the same thing. I mean, that's when you make that coaching change, one thing you've got to realize is everybody starts on a blank page, like a clean slate, and there's going to be things that he likes about certain players and things that he's going to want improvements on. And I think Pacioretty's probably a good example. They got off to a decent start, but then healthy scratch in back-to-back games. But a lot of it is it's going to be necessity too. If you lose 3 games in a row, there are enough bodies around that he's not going to hesitate to make changes. But even with and of course, as we saw, even with John Tavares, that it's changed. I think the game in Boston was a season low. It was a little over 14 minutes for Tavares, and he was back up to his normal 18 minutes last night in Winnipeg. So give Berube credit. He's not sitting around and trying to go with the same lines night in and night out. If he doesn't see something, he's going to make a change.
Jim, as far as Tavares going back and reuniting with Willie Nylander, is that just basically now what you expect to see unless they do something outside of what's in-house? Because in-house, we've seen the last 6 weeks, we've seen guys move in and out of the lineup. We've seen Max in there, and now John's back there. So where do you see this moving forward when it comes to the first and second line centermen on the Toronto Maple Leafs?
Yeah, I think Kyper, the first line set. You might move things with. We've seen Nylander go out with Matthews and Marner at times when Berube was trying to get more offense out of them. But I think outside of the top line, which I think is going to be pretty consistent throughout the season, if they're fortunate enough to be healthy. But I think everything else is. I think it's going to be a science lab from now to the end of the season. Finding things that work. And the other thing about Tavares last night, he won 76% of his faceoffs, and that is huge. When you start looking at puck possession stats and everything else, and that's do you want that from your number 3 center or your number 2 centers? And I think if that's why it was huge that put Tavares back with Nylander and Pacioretty because he had the faceoff wins and they actually, gutted the game out. Like it wasn't, like I said, pretty where it was odd man rushes and great plays coming off the wing. I mean, it was, dump it in and grind it out. And I think that's, they're going to struggle with that, I think, for a while because whenever you start to hit tough times, I think it's easy to get back into old habits, whether it's leaving the zone early or some bad pinches by the defense. And I think that's, the first half of the season anyway, I think that's going to be their biggest struggle is to not want to go off leash, when things start getting a little tough.
Mm-hmm. So one place that I'm interested in the Leafs roster is the bottom of the D-core. Timothy Liljegren has gotten 1 game through 10 so far. Myers has gotten a game, but Connor Timmins has kind of become a mainstay in the lineup. How do you see that shaking up over the course of the season? Is it right to continue to give Timmins all these games? Frankly, I kind of like him and wouldn't hate to see him get some power play time, but that's just me, Jim.
Yeah. And don't forget, though, Barney, he had a great training camp last year.
Yeah.
And then got hurt going into the regular season, and I think it limited him to about 25 games. But there's another example of a new coach assessing what he's got. And, when you talk about who's a favorite and who isn't, unfortunately for Timothy Liljegren, it looked like it's going to be a wait and see. And let's not forget, you get Yanni Hakanpää back. Mm-hmm. You would think, just looking at the numbers, that it might be Connor Timmins that comes out of the lineup. But the great thing about the NHL, you think you got too many defensemen just wait a week and see who's healthy at the end of the week.
Right.
I mean, it's a luxury to have a problem, especially with right-handed D.
Ralphie, last night we saw the best power play in the National Hockey League versus one of the worst ones in the Toronto Maple Leafs. Only Washington, Anaheim, and Buffalo have a worse power play than the Toronto Maple Leafs. Like, how shocking is this for you with Matthews, Marner, Nylander, Tavares, notoriously known as power play guys and world-class talent? And, did you see enough to say that maybe last night they turned a corner a little bit?
I don't know if I'm there yet, Kyper. I think because this actually goes back to, I think, the last February, which is when it started to fall apart. It was stagnant in the playoffs against Boston. And, I think where the frustration comes in is you're not saying, boy, they're getting their chances, but they're just not finishing. I mean, it's, painfully watching them trying to gain the zone off the rush and the power play, and then having it broken up and sent back down. I mean, that's to me been a big source, I think, of frustration for the coaching staff and everything else is the zone entries. That it seems like if the team clears it, you basically killed the penalty off because it'll take them a minute 20 to get back in the offensive zone. So that's to me what the concern is. I mean, Berube again, mixed up the power play lines and it looked like it was better in the sense where it was a shoot first mentality, not making those 15 passes to get it back where it started. So I did like the fact that it was more two guys going to the net and throw it there. But I think that's why Oliver Ekman-Larsson replaced Morgan Rielly in the first place, because he tends to fire it more from the point. So I think it's a step. I think it's like Craig Berube said after the Boston game. It's closer, but it's not what they need. There's more work to be done on it.
Okay, I'm going to ask you, and then I want JB to get your answer. When the dust settles and you're in the playoffs and you need a big power play goal and the first unit's going to absorb most of it, who's at the back end for you, Oliver Ekman-Larsson or Morgan Rielly?
Is Ralphie going first or me?
Oh, you go ahead, Barney. I'll take the other one.
It still feels like Morgan Rielly to me. I know he's been the guy, and I know it hasn't worked. It's just, you talk about Ekman-Larsson was the 5th D on Florida. Riley's been in these spots, and you hope he's learned, and hope that experience can help him be better. I just don't know that Ekman-Larsson's. I don't know, Kip. I'm torn on that. Hopefully, the guy they pick up at the deadline that I don't know about yet.
Yeah. I would agree with you on that, and I think you like Riley's speed when it comes back to if he's got to go back and retrieve pucks. I like his speed from that point, and it's he's on pace for another 20-goal season for him. So it's that might have as much to do with playing with Chris Tanev. I know we talked about this before, but when Rielly had his 20-goal season, he was playing with Ron Hainsey. So Chris Tanev is similar to the way Ron Hainsey played. But yeah, I mean, again, if you flip the two, you still got the other guy coming out in the second unit, which may not feel as important at the time, but I still think they're two pretty comparable weapons to have back there. But I still think you might see Matthew Nyes on the number one unit at some point, because I semi made the comparisons to what Zach Hyman's been able to do, in previous years in Edmonton, which has used the frame to win the one-on-one battles, but then go right to the net looking for rebounds or redirections. And I love the way Nyes has played, and especially going to the front of the net. And we saw him, be able to cash in on a rebound last night.
Last one for me. I just want to get your thoughts on goaltending and what happens now if Joseph Woll struggles. This is supposed to be a split it sort of situation. If he struggles, do you think they should continue to give him games and try to make it a split like they intended to going into the season? Or has it become a thing where it's like Stolarz is playing better, we're going to treat him like a true number one?
Yeah, well, I mean, in fairness, he's only had one game.
But it wasn't up to my standards, Ralphie.
Oh, no. But it's still one game. Just one game. So it's, I think and this is going to sound like a guy that's had a career of excuses, which I have. It is hard to play a midweek game against the Western Conference team in Toronto. The building, when he played St. Louis, the building was so quiet. There's no buzz or jump, and you make a mistake, and you can hear it hit the net. I think in some ways it's easier to get the start on the road to try to get back into it. So then you look at, if he does in fact play tomorrow against Seattle, it's going to be the same thing. It's going to be the feeling is going to be go in there and don't lose it. Very seldom are you in that situation, say against Seattle, where your goalie is going to be the first star and you get the win. So it's a different kind of pressure doing that. But I mean, the bottom line is I think Stolarz has only played a career high 27, 28 games in his career, and Wall played 25 last year. I think you're going to need them both, because not that Stolarz couldn't play 55 or 60 games, but just from a wear and tear standpoint, I think you want to be able to have that option going into the playoffs, where you've got two guys ready, and hopefully through the course of the regular season they can get them there.
Ralphie, great stuff as always, man. First star on our show, no question.
All right, next time we can touch on season 7 of Love Is Blind.
Nice.
Thanks, Ralphie.
Jimmy Ralph, color voice for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
So is it an insane thing to suggest Connor Timmins get some power play time on the second unit? He was a point per game defenseman for his last 2 years at junior, 41 points in 36 games, goes to playoffs, 18 points in 23 games. Like, he can produce offense. Went to the American League and had a 27 and 40 in 40 games. He can get points.
Okay, so
he can shoot.
So how do you go about doing this? You give him the first unit, or you give him the second unit?
Yeah, just have him play power play 2. I don't think Oliver Ekman-Larsson has been promised anything that he can't sit on the bench and watch Timmins take some reps. I think there's a chance he's their best power play guy. I don't think it's likely to end up happening, because he'd have to stay healthy for a whole season and take a lot of reps, but worth a look for a bad power play. I don't know.
A lot of pressure.
Well, yeah.
To be
kind of the job.
I know, but like for your 7th guy that mixes in and out of the lineup, you're like, now you're the PP1 guy. It's like, holy crap, I better snap a couple in here. You start pressing. That's a lot to ask.
I just don't think it's unreasonable to.
No, I don't think it's unreasonable.
You can work your way in.
Long season. You could try him.
Like Ralphie said,
games.
he started good last year, got hurt, had mono. This guy falls down manholes and gets hit by space debris. If he can stay healthy, I think he's a pretty good player. 6'3", 215, upside.
Shoots right.
Yeah.
I think there's a better chance of that happening if they continue to find ways to not put the puck in the net.
Yeah.
Right?
Trying anything soon. Will be you out there.
You on Ralphie's page of going back to Stolarz against Seattle, because it could be a sleepy game, and then giving Joseph Wall.
I have no idea.
No, get this
St.
guy
Louis?
involved. Let's go.
No.
Let's start his season already.
I'm putting Stolarz right back in.
Well, you got to give this guy a chance to be a goalie.
I can't take a chance for a second night that Wall's not good enough at home.
You know when Wall's next start for me is?
It's game 11, guys. You can't start Wall in game 11. Is it so crucial?
You guys are covered on Sunday night. Second half of the back-to-back is Wall's first game for me.
And the answer is yes. It's critical. They're all critical now.
72 to
They
go.
They are. How critical is it for the Edmonton Oilers with the potential of Connor McDavid out of the lineup for an extended period of time? We'll get into that on the National Hour. Stick around. Steve Valiquette coming up next. What kind of juice is he bringing?
Same as always, the most juice.
All right. Like I said, Connor McDavid, we'll get our thoughts on how long he could be out potentially and what the Edmonton Oilers look like without him. That and more. Stamkos' reunion with Tampa as well.
Right.
Coming up next. Don't go away. Real Kyper and Bourne. We go national on the Real Kyper and Bourne show. We are live on Sportsnet 650 in Vancouver and Sportsnet 960 in Calgary. This hour, Real Kyper and Bourne is brought to you by Bet365. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne.
Hello.
Sammy McKee, Derek Brandeo, and Jake the Snake Schultz. In a few minutes, we'll welcome in Steve Valiquette, analyst for the New York Rangers on MSG and CEO of ClearSight Analytics. And then in about half an hour, we'll welcome in back to our program, Dr. Jason Smith. He's an elite orthopedic surgeon, presently working for the Toronto Blue Jays. We'll get his thoughts on what he saw. We know what we saw with Connor McDavid.
What'd you see?
We can see a lot of concerns.
Do you want to play doctor?
We will.
Doctor?
Oh, we're going to play doctor.
Doctor?
Doctor.
Doctor?
Doctor. We'll get into that, but no affiliation. He's done almost 20 years at the professional ranks.
Doctor.
Worked with a lot of teams in the NHL, Major League Baseball. I'm just curious to see what he saw. What was his first thoughts on what he saw?
Tough night for Canada in general last night. I know the Leafs did win, but playing another Canadian team that lost. The Flames lost. The Oilers lost. Canucks lost.
Yeah.
Tough night.
Where does goaltending rank for you in terms of the Edmonton Oilers right now? I know Connor McDavid left after his first shift, which, I don't know, did that shock the team? Did they find themselves stuck in mud after that?
I think it was a little bit of a what just happened. He was buzzing. Like, he came out there and got his speed going in the neutral zone, got a puck, got going. It felt to me like Edmonton was going to just plow over Columbus, and then it all just kind of turned a minute in.
I would say that, I'm not exactly a goalie expert. We're going to have one on here very shortly, but 2-4-1 with a 3.51 goals against and an 8.72 save percentage. Those numbers don't look too great when they jump off the page to you.
Skinner might not be great.
8.72 in 7 games is a scary start.
If they would address that at some point this season and say,
had
we're
those
too good, we were too close to not.
They had those combos last year.
We're not going through the Jack Campbell kind of conversations again, are we?
You think Skinner's going to figure it out?
I think so.
Yeah, okay. I like
he
the
came
guy.
within a goal of winning the Stanley Cup.
Sure.
And was very good for them in lots of games in the playoffs.
That's
very
great.
good.
So if you're within a goal of things, that's pretty good.
Well,
and we
maybe
give
not
them
a goal.
credit. So at least made the second round last year.
A game.
No,
I just found that out.
2 years ago. Oh,
Yeah.
now I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Freebie.
Yeah.
So that hurt them last night. I thought there's a couple of pucks that seemed to go through them. They coach never blames them directly, but didn't think he was very good.
Impressed with Columbus. I got to say, they've had a nice start to the year here. They're
They
above
deserve
500. They're
Dean Evison's got them playing.
they honestly are playing inspired hockey, and it's unthinkable what happened to them, but it seems like it's really united
you
them.
got to
They're playing
tip your
hard.
hat to these guys for
Playing
playing
hard,
hard.
man.
Yeah, Sean
Hard.
Monahan. It's got 4 or 5 goals on the season now.
I can't tell you how great a
5.
story it would be if they were just like in the playoff mix and a fun team and playing
Right.
hard. Like that'd be, and like I said, Everson would scare me into playing good too. Scariest face in the league.
Yeah, a little tough for Western Canada last night. Vancouver losing in overtime to Calgary or to Carolina.
Yeah.
Calgary losing to Vegas.
That was pretty lopsided affair. I watched that one.
Yeah,
pretty close.
Vladar, came down to earth a little bit, I think, last night too. And then Connor Hellebuck. But let's bring in our Tuesday regular here on the show, Steve Valiquette,
There he is.
MSG,
3 Emmys today.
CEO of Clear Sight Analytics. How are you, pal?
Doing well, boys. How are we?
Good, good. So is 10 games enough to kind of settle in on the goaltending front here? Or I'm looking at the wins and I'm seeing some familiar names up at the top, like Bobrovsky and Vasilevsky. And then there's Stolarz, I think, tied for 4th for wins here. So is this going to kind of sort itself out, or is there one guy, maybe a Stolarz, that can rise to the next level and hold it?
Kyper, it's funny because when you go from case to case, team to team, you come across different abnormalities maybe in somebody's game. They might have been really good at something, but it's almost like having a bad run of cards. And you can have a bad shoe when you go to the casino. I was digging into Aiden Hill yesterday because it's interesting on him getting ready for his Calgary start last night. And going into the game, he'd allowed 4 goals on 5 breakaways. And I'm like, I know Aiden. I know he's really good on breakaways. I go back and I look at his playoff run when he wins the Stanley Cup 2 years ago. He faced 16 breakaways during the postseason, 0 goals against. So it's like, what are we talking about sometimes? You know that there might be something technically there where he wasn't coming out as far as he was 2 years ago, and those things can be quickly fixed. So as long as you have all hands on deck, guys, you can get past small things when the sample size is very strong behind somebody that might be off to a bad week or two.
Yeah, and despite losing last night, Hellebuck leads all goalies with 6 wins.
Yeah, and I thought that last night he kind of looks a little Roman Czechmanic again, and I don't know if you guys remember Roman Czechmanic.
Oh, yeah. Big guy.
It would get wacky sometimes. And, I think that it's funny. I remember Bobby Clark, after they had let him go, he was quoted as saying, it just gets wacky sometimes. He's a really good goalie. He's got a big frame, but it just gets weird out there. And you can't anticipate everything that he's doing if you're a defenseman. The pucks aren't going clean where they should be.
So Skinner's another really big guy, and we were just talking about him before we got on air. What are your thoughts on his performance this year? Is it kind of waiting for more games for it to sort itself out, or is
it's you know what, Borny, it's dicey because if you go back to when Jay Woodcroft was fired last year, it was November 12th, and Edmonton was giving up a ton off the rush. They were 32nd in the NHL at that time. So they were struggling because the environment was difficult on Skinner. Skinner, over the last 2 years, has the second worst save percentage in the NHL off of odd man rushes as well as full rush. He's not a great goalie at backing up, managing speed, gap. You see, when the hard part about the rush is that you can lose your net. A lot of goalies lose their net. Plus, you're doing math as you're trying to calculate, is anybody going to pass? Who's open? There's different variables there. The funny thing to me with Skinner is he's got a great save percentage. He's a top 5 save percentage in the zone when he's in set D zone and he can see his reads and Edmonton's got good sticks. He stops the puck. He's an NHL goalie, but off the rush, he's not. And if they can't, and then the point I wanted to make about after Woodcroft to Knobloch, they went into the playoffs as the number 2 defensive team protecting their goalie off the rush. So if you can protect him and give him a safe environment, he'll be successful.
Gotcha.
But if you want to play up and down the ice, he's not your goalie.
So where would Skinner be in terms of his mindset when you're a game away from winning the Stanley Cup and you looked at a fairly decent blue line, and say what you will about Philip Broberg taking time to get there, but he arrived. He arrived in the Stanley Cup final, and now he's arriving for the St. Louis Blues. He's gone. Cody Ceci's gone. Desharnais is gone, and you look up and you see Stetcher, and you see Dermott, and who am I missing? Emberson. And that can't be helping his confidence, really.
Kyper, you can't go there though. And look, I've made the mistake, and I was maybe a little younger than Skinner is at this time right now, but I have PTSD when I drive through Springfield, Massachusetts, because I had such a bad year there. And I have to drive from Connecticut to get to my place in Vermont. It's brutal. Every time I drive through there, I just go, I feel terrible. Get me through this border. And because I had a defenseman named Robert Schnabel. I hope he's not listening. But man, he was awful out there. And I felt like we were always down 5-on-4. And he was such a distraction. I never felt like he could protect anybody. I legit thought we were killing every time we were out there at 5-on-5. But guess who paid the price? I'm the one pulling the puck out of the net. And it dawns on me after a number of weeks of these self-fulfilling prophecies that I got to knock it off because, again, it's always on us, right, fellas? Like, all eyes are on the goalie as soon as the puck goes in the net. So if you are having that, you got to get past it. I hired a sports psychologist when I was 27. I wish I had the courage to do it earlier in my career. I would have been in the NHL sooner.
So we talked about a couple of guys who are struggling this season. Last week, you gave us your 10 best performing goalies in the NHL. Have you got some thoughts on the other side of things? Yeah. I know you keep these lists.
It's funny. I'm putting this list together. I'm like, oh, how bad do I want to just trash these 10 guys? But I don't want to do that, right? I was a goalie. So, it's a little harder than it looks. But I started off with number 10. It's Darcy Kemper. And we're going to work our way down the list to the leader of the Masters, the minus goaltender. And Darcy last season was 97 out of 98 goalies. And LA's environment is the easiest. It's the easiest place to play goal. Wow. Los Angeles. Oh, yeah. For the last 2-3 years, if you want to be, if you're in a contract year and you don't make a lot, Stolars could have picked LA. It would have been a good choice. So we talk about that. Varlamov, he's 9th, and I love Varley. Played with him, love him. But you know what he's had? He's had 5 broken play goals, and sometimes those can't be always predictive because it hits a shin pad, goes to a guy on the back door, and those can hurt you. Number 8 is your guy, Allmark. You know what I'm seeing right now, guys, around the league is a lot of the goals are starting from the dead angle and from below the goal line, passes to the slot. And we saw it again last night in the Winnipeg game, Toronto game. If you remember the Kreider goal when Zibanejad passed it across to him against Stolars as well, those plays, because they're predictive, and Allmark, I was watching his Vegas game, his last start, he gave up 5. He's going into that slide, going into that reverse on the way to the post. So it's almost like the bumper guy that used to be in the slot is really the goal line bumper guy right now. And he's there waiting for the goalie to slide down so he can move the puck quickly, because goalies can't move from their knees nearly as well as they move from their feet. And the goals actually are alarming. I'll just go off track for a second. Last season, these types of goals were up 116, and this year 134 goals in the first 3 weeks from these low bumper plays. So when you guys are watching the NHL tonight, watch these low bumper plays. Everything that's getting down, especially on the power play, when that guy's open down there, as soon as he receives it, he's not shooting it, he's always moving it. And when they move it quickly, you're seeing the goalies actually just get stuck in that reverse VH and not be able to move. And if I was coaching Stolars, number one thing I'd be sharing with him right now is, man, when that puck gets drawn down, beat the puck on your feet and get to the post and stay on your feet there, because nobody's shooting it. Everybody is just waiting for the goalies to go down. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I think that's a big one. Bobrovsky is a funny one because over the last 3 regular seasons, he is always ranking really low in our expected goals model. And, you know, he's killed it on the playoff runs, but over the last 3 years, he ranks 30th out of 35 goalies that have faced a minimum 2,000 chances. So that's always surprising to me. He's number 7 right now. He's getting wins, Kyper, but he's not making the saves that he needs to make for them to be successful long-term. Markstrom is number 6, and he's funny because if you go back to when he went from Vancouver to Calgary, he's going through the same thing right now. He has a hard time adjusting in his first year moving from there. And then if you remember the year after, his second year in Calgary, he was a Vezina finalist. So that's Markstrom. The next one is 5, Ingram, top goalie last year. I think he'll regain form. Vanacek, number 4, tough fit for him in San Jose. Fedotov, number 3. I don't know if we're going to see him again. Not NHL ready. No. He doesn't move well at all. I don't know if you guys have seen him play. But doesn't move well enough to play in the NHL. Skinner, 2, and Georgiev, number 1. Georgiev. Yeah, but you know what? It was what we talked about last week. He has 7 bad goals against. That's most in the league, but they're all from the dead angle, and he's getting caught in transition. Again, that sticky spot.
That's great stuff, Allie.
Steve, I got to ask you about Dan Vladar in Calgary, and I give Vladar and Dustin Wolf full credit because they've gotten out of they got their team out of the gate really strong. But I don't know if you caught his post-game comments the other night about being a little tired and, needing to talk to the goalie coach and figuring out, what's going on. He was cramping up the other night. And my first thought is being a player in that room going, oh my God, like we're 6 games in, you're tired. But then there's another part of me who's retired at 58 going, maybe that's just a guy who knows who he is and knows where his comfort zone is and doesn't want to leave it. And maybe in some weird way that's a good thing or it's not. I don't know anymore. The more shows I do, the less I know.
Well, I'll tell you what, Kyper, I was listening to your show Saturday as I was walking to Madison Square Garden from Grand Central, and I almost got hit by a car when you guys were telling that story. I was dying laughing. I almost lost my composure.
Yeah.
You know what? I know Dan. I coached him when I was with the Chicago Steel USHL, and very likable, happy
Yes.
kid. You know, and
very
by
honest.
the way, no, it's like so honest. It's like, dude, shut up. You know, like just keep it to yourself. You know? And no, I mean it. Like I remember being on the ice with him, and he was so talented at that age. You knew he was going to play in the NHL someday. He really didn't need to take anybody's advice, so he wasn't that coachable. But I also knew that would hurt his ceiling. You know, being coachable to me is being able to decipher the right information from the wrong information, especially for a goalie where there's going to be a lot of opinions on you. And Dan wasn't always the easiest to receive, and that always surprised me, and I thought that would hurt him as far as his ceiling. Now, if I'm his goalie coach, Kyper, and I hear that, and by the way, Jason LeBarber is one of my best friends. I couldn't even call him on this. I was about to call. I was like, I'm leaving it alone because I don't even want to know, you know, because it looks bad on Barbs. And by the way, we've all had dehydration issues in games. That game that I was telling you guys about where I got sidetracked looking at Leclerc's stick.
Yeah.
In that same game, because I was under so much pressure and stress, my hand locked on my stick. And I had to get a heat pad on my forearm during periods from Jim Ramsey. You know Rammer, Kyper. Yep. He's like wrapping my forearm so that I can hold my stick for the next shot. I go out in the third period. I'll never forget it. Doug Waite comes down the is it Doug Waite? No, might not. Did Waite play for Philadelphia?
No,
No,
not to my recollection.
I'm thinking of somebody else. I'm thinking might have been Mark Recchi. Mark Recchi. He comes down the wing and he blasts it like 5-hole, and my stick turns in. It goes through my 5-hole because I couldn't hold on to my stick. But guess what? It didn't go in. I got lucky. But I wasn't coming out of that game, and I certainly wasn't saying anything about after the game. You know, like I think that there's a difference there, and I think that guys should just be very happy when you get your starts and keep your mouth shut and keep it moving.
It's funny. There's actually an NFL quarterback that recently came out after the third period. What was his name?
Anthony Richardson.
And he said, "Not gonna lie, I was tired." And it's like, what?
What?
When you're a pro athlete, be like, just need a bit of a break.
You get hit by a bus at this level and you don't cry.
Yeah.
Keep moving.
Yeah, that is bizarre. So, you know, you've been so great at identifying trends and all that for us. Where is it then? So you're getting all these low angle goals. Where do you beat the modern goaltender today with all the ways they're supposed to play? Where's the chinks in the armor these days?
Yeah, this is neat, you guys, because, you know, I first always look at this and I have this list, and it's all the goalies that have retired over the last 7 to 10 years. And you think about how we're talking in the NHL right now, the save percentage in the NHL this morning is .897. Okay. Do you know when it was that low? Once upon a time, Kyper, in 93, 94, it was .895. We haven't seen the NHL goalie save percentage as low as it is today as it has been since 93, 94. All right. There was 8 games last night. 6 teams hit the over. You know, so if you're into the gambling stuff, bet the over. Goalies. Goalies right now in the NHL are only stopping 78% of the shots that are shot high glove. So if you think you're seeing a lot of high glove, you're seeing a lot of high glove. And that's way down from the last 4 years. So I think, you know, I've got a few theories on this. It might be early sports specialization, because when we were younger, a lot more kids are playing baseball in the summer. A lot of goalies are playing full-time goalie now. Too many goalies in the league young, as I mentioned. The best glove hand over the last couple of years is actually Logan Thompson, and he catches the other way. So I thought that was, yeah. And you know what else I thought was interesting? Lefties and righties, they have the same shooting percentage high glove. I thought maybe there was going to be a difference. I thought more for righties, but it was exactly the same. So it looks to me like, you know, I wonder about the amount of shots goalies are facing each game as well. When you go back to last night's game between Winnipeg and Toronto, and isn't it fascinating that teams are taking fewer bad shots this year? That's the one that really catches me. Teams are really taking fewer bad shots. Last night was a really hard night for Stolarz. He only faced 8 bad shots, like 8 feelers in the game. That's a tough night, fellas. Toronto only had 14 on Hellebuck. The secret sauce to being able to make it hard on a goalie is having 7 or more like grade A's while shooting 12 or fewer bad shots. If you can hit that sweet spot, that's your highest chance to win in winning percentage. And I think this is really fascinating. This is something that we dug up today. So low danger shots are the bad shots, right? And the more bad shots that you take than your opponent, and you're less likely to win the hockey game. So 0 to 9 bad shots in a hockey game, you have a 60% chance to win. So if you take a lot of low danger, it can drop all the way down to, if you shoot 23 to 25 low danger shots, you only win 33% of the time because you're warming up the other guy. You're warming him up so that he's warm when he faces.
Valley,
I'd love to see that.
Do you have a ranking of the teams from best to worst?
Yes, I do. But again, that'll be next week's homework.
Yes. Yeah.
And I have more
love
homework.
to hear
I
it.
have more homework. The right-handed shots having the same shooting percentage, high glove as left-handed shots is shocking for me. Do you know if that checks out historically at all or just to this season thing?
I'll do it again. Once again, I'll look again from last year and the years before. So it's always interesting because I always think of lefties having the option of really being able to tie up a goalie, low block or high glove 5-hole.
And they got to shoot cross body. You think they just catch more shoulder in there or something.
Right.
You know, Valley, last night, speaking of what I would have thought 25 years ago would have been a bad or poor selection shot, was Kyle Connor on the power play. He's on his strong side. He takes a pass from Scheifele on his strong side on across the ice, and it's a catch and release that is second to none, and it goes off of Stolar's head and in the net.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, 25 years ago, I'm not sure we had one or two guys that could pull that off, and I'm not sure how many guys in 2024 can pull it off. But he had an idea of the area that he wanted to put it in, and it included, if it hits his net or if it hits his head, I still got a chance to go in. I think that's how good he is. But was that a good selection or a bad selection?
Well, I'll start by saying I was shocked watching that game and seeing Scheifele and Connor look a lot like Kucherov and Stamkos last season, didn't they?
Yes.
I mean, same handednesses, same sides. They're just one-timing pucks back. And Connor gets, that goal. What happened there was Stolarz made a mistake where he went into the reverse to the post where he should have come through a path that would have brought him to the top of the crease.
And on his feet. And on his feet would have been great, but I think he was challenged with a little bit of a screen, so he might have been late on the pass. If you get down on that one, understand it could happen. However, he should have been above his post there, and he would have been at the top of the crease. He should have made a save there on his shoulder. That, for me, wasn't a good one for him. But again, it's overuse of using the reverse again. There's too much reverse in the game right now. It's gotten really bad. It's gotten worse every year.
Last one from me, and I realize it's a complete change of direction here, but tonight, Marc-Andre Fleury goes back to Pittsburgh for the last time with the Minnesota Wild. They'll be celebrating his legacy tonight. A curious case throughout history, right? Number 1 overall pick, wins cups, people love him. But there was a run of years in the playoffs where he gave up the net to Brent Johnson and Matt Murray. And what are your thoughts on the legacy and career of Marc-Andre Fleury?
You know, when you love something enough, you never give up. And that's what he's been like. He has a deep love for the game. He's going to work in the game for sure. He's one of those guys. But I remember when we were in Hartford, and I had mentioned Jason LaBarbera earlier. He was my partner there. And we were going up against the Wilkes-Barre Scranton in the playoffs. And he was a healthy scratch. You know, he came from the NHL the year before. And so he didn't even have it easy in the minors. He never really got on a run until about his third lap through the AHL. And then he came up and, his first Stanley Cup, you remember he slides across and he makes that save with his shoulder. He didn't have a great playoff that year, but he was the winning goalie in the Stanley Cup playoffs. And then it's a number of years where he's out, and then he needs help from Matt Murray to win the next 2. And Murray's really the guy. So it's a funny one, right? But he's had some really, he to me always looks like he's just having a lot of fun. He enjoys the game. I don't know Marc-Andre Fleury personally, but I've always appreciated his love for hockey. He just deeply loves the game, and I think that's why he's lasted this long. Is he not the oldest player in the league this year? I think he's 39.
I think he is. If he isn't, he's damn close. I think he is.
Yeah, so it's and earlier I was going to mention that some of these names, the guys that have retired recently. Like you think of Ryan Miller and Tuukka Rask and Braden Holtby and Bishop and Price and Lundqvist and Crawford and Luongo, Rene. Like we've lost a lot of legendary goalies in the last 7 years.
Another emotional night. Stamkos in Tampa and now Marc-Andre Fleury in Pitt. Hey, great job. And like, man, we're working you like a dog.
Hey,
aren't we?
boys, I gotta tell you, I got something from last week. We wanted to talk about the Panarin Shesterkin comp.
Oh, yes, that's right.
All right.
Who's more valuable?
Who's more valuable? Okay, I got this, and I got some support on this. So I went to the analytics community on this one. I got some support. 3 goals scored or prevented equals 1 point in the standings. Okay. 3 goals scored or prevented equals 1 point in the standings. So Shesterkin's Vezina year, he was a plus 37.43 in goals saved above expected. So imagine that he saved the Rangers almost 38 goals. Last season, Panarin has 120 points. So that was his career year versus Shesterkin's career year. And what it comes out to, guys, is that it looks like we've got an exact tie between Shesterkin and Panarin.
That's amazing. That's how you know you formulated a great question.
I know. So everyone I spoke to said there is a massive argument to support that both players should be paid the same salary.
Oh, if I'm Shesterkin, this is good news. Because Panarin signed that deal how many years ago?
I know, but it's also
looking
with
at this too.
a shorter
I
cap.
thought this was funny.
Smaller cap.
So you start looking at the 120 points, right, guys? There's only been 39 players in NHL history that have scored 120 points, right? So Gretzky's done it 14 times. Lemieux's done it 8 times. And I kept looking into different things that were interesting, and I wanted to see where Kyper was all time in the OHL.
Well, time's up. We got to go.
62 goals, Kyper. You're tied for 23rd in OHL history for goals scored in a single season.
Big
and
year.
you wouldn't believe the players you're sandwiched between. How's this? Patrick Kane and Andrew Burnett. Yeah, Kyper.
Basically the same careers.
Not bad
and
at all.
career earnings.
Andrew Burnett, Own Sound Platers fame
They
right there.
kept
Is
stats
that right?
back then. Valley, they actually kept stats.
Oh, hey, Kyper, you can find anything, you know?
I love it.
You know what? Hey, last thing before I get off, you know what I was laughing about listening to your shows last week, Bordy, when you said Dennis Hildeby. Wait, is that his name, Dennis? You know, when you weren't on it.
Kipper once told me that I didn't have to be respectful until they make me earn their name. So I don't feel too bad about that.
So when you said that, I was walking and I fell off the curb. So I remember this is funny too. So I'm working with Henrik on getting his retirement night. We're doing an interview where I'm doing it professionally for MSG. And as I'm preparing my notes, I didn't realize that there was a goalie that was drafted in Henrik's draft in the 5th round. And Henrik was a 7th round pick. So there was a choice ahead of Henrik before Henrik, right? So this guy's name is Brandon Snee. Okay. I've never heard of him. He played at Union.
Right.
So I asked Henrik in this interview, I was like, Henrik, what does the name Brandon Snee mean to you?
Did you remember
no
him?
idea.
Nothing,
He had no, it was his draft. It was his draft.
See, I would have remembered that name going, I'm better than him.
Yeah.
That's what I
grudge.
said. I was like, Hank, I wrote everybody down in the draft that was selected before me, and all I had to do was play ahead of them, and I was crossing their names off. I took that seriously. He didn't even think twice about it.
You had the Billy Madison lipstick list of people you played ahead of.
That's exactly what I did.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I did.
That's
All right.
Valley.
These guys are funny.
Great stuff as always, man. Love our Tuesdays with you. Thanks for joining us.
All right, fellas. Have a good one. Talk to you soon.
You
That
too.
is
Thanks,
Steve
Valley.
Valiquette, CEO of Clear Sight Analytics, and of course does a great job on MSG covering the New York Rangers.
Oh my God, that was so good.
That was fun.
Just looking at Fleury's playoff stats, and we got to go here. Just up and down. It's crazy to look at this
Some great
over
years,
the years.
some
Like,
terrible
but-
years.
When the dust settles, he's got cups. He's got
Great career.
all-time
All-time
lists
Yep.
records.
and first ballot Hall of Famer.
First ballot.
yep.
And
In 2015, 2016, 875 in 6 games.
and very good
It's
around
Flyers.
Halloween. Should you get All-Star or Hall Hall of Fame votes because you were really good at dressing up?
I just hate this stuff. You know me, dressing up, and I'm not even a pranks guy. I always hated the guy in the team that was like, "Oh, I put a cup of water in your shin pads."
I didn't want to prank somebody because I didn't want to get in that game.
Yeah, no, not a fun world to live in.
Looking over your shoulder.
Yeah, you got your pant legs sewn together.
Okay.
Poor Robert Schnabel. What was the name of the guy?
Oh, geez. There's a couple
Sammy,
guys that caught strays today.
Schnabel.
Snee and Schnabs did
Your homework, we left Valley with homework. Your homework's to find him and get him on the show.
I could do that.
No, you can't. Or you think you're that good?
I think I
Sammy
can.
can have him by the end of the show.
I think I can track him down.
All right, homework for you as well.
All right.
Okay, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll get into a ton still, including Connor McDavid.
Yeah, and we still have to do game time, right? So we have, we should probably get to Doc and then do that at the back end.
We're out of here. Going to break. Don't go away. Plenty more. Hey, Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee. All right, and this hour, Real Kipper and Bourne, brought to you by Bet365. We can't forget that. I just want to get to maybe one of the biggest stories so far this season is there's injuries, and then there's injuries to the greatest players of the game.
I said, you want to talk about this? And you said, it's Connor McDavid, not Connor Brown. Good point.
Yeah, okay.
Rude.
Hey?
Well, I mean, Connor Brown would tell you there's a difference.
Yeah, we can sit here and speculate like three stooges. And we have in the past. And then people go, just shut up, you guys. You're not a doctor. And I'm like, okay, then
we'll get you one.
Go get one. So we'll call this a segment, Doctor.
Doctor? 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 Doctor?
Doctor?
Doctor?
Doctor?
Doctor?
Doctor?
Doctor?
And doctor.
And Dr. Jason Smith, orthopedic surgeon, close to 20 years covering NHL, currently the Toronto Blue Jays doctor, and a guy that knows all too well what maybe a guy like Connor McDavid's going through right now. Dr. J, what's up, buddy?
I just want to know on the doctor. Am I Chevy Chase? Am I Dan Aykroyd? Who am I on that?
Who's his wife in it?
I don't want to date anyone here, but I don't know what the hell we're talking about.
Dan
I know
Aykroyd,
you guys are old.
Dan Aykroyd met his wife on that.
Classic.
Okay, so let's get right to it. You've, like many of us all over the hockey world, saw Connor McDavid go into the boards. There was a little trip involved there. Now, this is a guy with history off of a serious knee injury in the past. If I'm not mistaken, he suffered a PCL tear, which is posterior ligament.
Just let the doctor.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So,
his previous injury was a posterior cruciate ligament injury, which is a rare injury for the hockey players. It's where the shin got jammed into the goalpost and tore his PCL. Like you usually see those in car accidents, like dashboard injuries, or in football where guys get slammed hard onto the surface. It's pretty rare in hockey. That's what he had. He had a PCL injury. And then back to our discussion about popliteus. He tore his PCL, tore his popliteus, had meniscal tears on the inside and outside, and had a tibial plateau fracture. This is what we learned on that Whatever It Takes documentary that was on.
Okay,
but that was a serious knee injury.
Before we speculate, where would the seriousness be when you saw him go into the boards? Would that have been the Oilers' first thought is, I hope that part of his knee's okay? Or once it's restructured or rebuilt, or it's as good to go as any knee?
Yeah, so a couple things there. First, when he goes into the boards, the first thing I'm thinking, like, oh my God, did he fracture his tibia? Like, he went in hard and awkward. But when you see him stand up, you're like, okay, it's not a fracture. He didn't break his tibia, but he's kind of skating around on it. He's testing it out. He's putting a little bit of weight on it. So my first thought, okay, maybe it's not super serious. He didn't break anything, but then he kind of wouldn't push off on it. And then he moves to the bench and he puts it down again. He does that little back leg kind of slide stop on it. So my first thoughts initially were, oh my God, this could be really bad. But then you see him kind of put weight on it and stop on it. Like, okay, this is maybe on the minor side. But the two things I'm thinking when I see that are, one, his old PCL injury, his knee injury, because the knee twisted in that same direction. And then ankle stuff, high ankle sprains in hockey players. They don't get the normal ankle sprains that we get from rolling in your tennis shoes. The boot is so rigid that they get these high ankle sprains. So those were the two things that were in my head when I saw Connor McDavid's injury.
So, those sort of, I feel like when he got up and he put pressure on it and wasn't alarmed by it. I guess, what does it call to mind when you see non-contact injuries versus contact injuries? I felt like it wasn't like sometimes you see a guy hit something they know immediately. It's almost like he had to go run through his own little bit of testing to figure out what had gone on there.
Yeah, that's a really good sign that it's on the minor side versus lying on the ground. Now, given how bad his last injury was, this guy is tough. Yeah. What he went through and how he got back from an injury as serious as it was, this guy is tough. So on the bench, he's standing there, he doesn't go straight to the tunnel. He's standing there, he's testing it out. But you see that look on his face during that is this my old friend, my knee here? There was something stoic about his look that wasn't something new. It was like he knew what was going on. And that's when I started thinking, man, is this something with his knee again? Is this not his ankle?
So, Doc, when you hear that he's not going to make the trip, the next road trip, and he's going to fly home, is that just being very careful with the best hockey player in the world, or does that automatically say that this is not going to be day to day?
Well, early in the season again, right? They're not pushing wins on the road. They're being cautious, and they're going to send him home. They're going to get their MRI. They're going to get their testing. They're going to get their doctors to look at it. So the fact that he went home, it could still be minor, but just with a guy like this, you're doing your own MRIs, NHL, the guys are so secretive right now. They don't get it. They don't get MRIs on the road. They all fly home, super secret MRIs, super secret doctor meetings. Nobody knows anything. So I think they were just getting him back into the bubble to see what exactly is going on. I don't think it speaks necessarily to the seriousness of it.
Okay, but is there a last one, and we'll let you go. Okay, if he tweaked it as a high ankle sprain, it's minimum a month, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, on average 4 to 6 weeks for those, but those can be minor. Those can be little sprains, a week or two. But the thing about high ankle sprains is guys get burned on those. They feel better before they're healed. So guys come back and then they do the exact same thing again. So if you hear high ankle sprain, you're going to be on the cautious side. So I'd say minimum a couple weeks, could be 4 to 6.
Hey, great stuff, man. Really appreciate your time. And you're out of Scarborough, right? Plug for
Scarborough Health Network and OV Surgical downtown Toronto.
All right. Dr. Jason Smith, really appreciate your time, man. Thanks for doing this.
Anytime, guys.
Thanks, Doc. Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot.
Connor's going to be out a month.
Think so, eh?
Yeah. That's what I got out of that. He's not, and he made an excellent point.
Well, he's a doctor.
You even if he just tweaked it a little bit enough for him to not play that last night and go home, you're not bringing him back so he can go back on the IR again in a month or two.
Well, it's funny because it does. That's one of the things with a bad start to a season is that you eliminate your margin for error, I should say. Where it's all right, you got up to a slow start last year with a 2-9-1. Connor and Leon ended up going supernova, and they end up within a point to win in the division and Stanley Cup final. Bad start this year, and all of a sudden it's, they get another bad break on top of it. Evander Kane's not in this year. Zach Hyman's gone cold. And, the D is a little different. And all of a sudden it's I still think they're a good team who are going to be okay, but it gets a little harder. Your first round matchup starts to get pretty hard if you dig a big enough hole in October, November.
3 or 4 weeks with no Connor McDavid. And listen, we went through it last year, but
not without him for 4 weeks.
You want to push your luck on a really, really poor start here. I think there needs to be a little bit of sense of urgency from this hockey club.
Yeah, they're going into Nashville, and Nashville's founded a little bit, into Calgary, and then I believe they have New Jersey and Vegas at home, who are good teams too. So they got a bit of a tough schedule coming up.
Game time?
Game time, baby.
It's game time, presented by Bet365. Visit the app for latest odds and find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. It's 19 plus. Ontario only. Please play responsibly. So last night, my Sharkies found a way to dig. They had to win eventually, boys, and I finally sniffed it out after picking them for 3 straight days. They beat the Utah Hockey Club. Tonight, I am going against the well. I am drawing the well. They play on the second half of a back-to-back against the Los Angeles Kings.
They might lose by 11.
And I think the Los Angeles Kings are going to wax them tonight. So give me the LA Kings minus a goal and a half at minus 105. And another one that I love to do, Alex Ovechkin tonight against the Rangers, a team he has historically owned. 42 goals in 73 games against the Rangers. You can picture it all the time. Give me a Alex Ovechkin anytime goal, because if he's going to break the record, he's got to start scoring. So give me a Ovi goal at plus 175.
How was your Aaron Judge home run call last night?
Aaron Judge is the most broken man I've ever seen in a baseball uniform. He is
It's
awful.
really too bad.
No, yeah, just those.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm just,
poor Yankees fan.
those poor underdog Yankees. They're just having such a good. They only spent $275 million on their roster. They're just having a really tough go. And they had such a hard road to get to the World Series.
You're just so happy beating
the Cleveland Guardians and Kansas City Royals, whose combined payroll was $78. They suck. They don't deserve to be there. They're good teams actually winning. They're getting pasted, and they deserve it. There you go.
Do you feel better about the Blue Jays when you trash the Yankees?
Listen, the Blue
Is that
Jays,
what this is all about?
Listen, I don't even care.
I would love to be the Yankee suction.
I don't even care about the Blue Jays. This is not a Blue Jays conversation. They're not even in the same conversation. But listen, the Yankees do kind of suck. They don't have anybody hitting. Their pitching staff's not very good. Where they scored 5 runs or
How
4
about Freddie
runs?
Freeman, our Canadian by proxy sort of
5 straight homers in 5 straight World Series games. So, anyways, go Dodgers. I hate to say it. Go Dodgers. Sweep them.
Wouldn't have said that when we were doing our Otani show last year. The one that needs to be stricken from the internet.
Not the saddest time capsule of all time. Okay, and that was game time presented by Bet365. Visit the app for the odds and find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. It's 19 plus. Ontario only. Please play responsibly.
Before we get into the Stamkos visit to Tampa Bay last night, 2 assists. I wanted to get your thoughts just on the follow-up of Washington. Off to a pretty darn good start, considering this is a team that we thought could slip in last year and this year. But give this team full credit here, and it's not like it's the Ovi show anymore. It's over. The Ovi show's over, and it's
the over show.
Just how many goals can be involved in, how many empty netters he can get towards Wayne Gretzky. But this is so much more right now that we've seen Washington out of the gate.
I give them credit for actively seeking out good hockey players. I really, and I know it's easy to say now in my position, but I don't have a ton of respect for full rebuilds. I really think you don't need to do what San Jose's doing right now.
Yeah.
You can pick up a couple of hockey players to give your fans something, give your young players something. Don't let Sheary get waived, trade for Liljegren, get some players. You don't need to be this bad. I give Washington credit for not going quietly. They going the wrong way, but they went out and they got Chikrin, and they went out and they got Jensen. They
Dubois.
Got Dubois, and they got Mangiapane, and they're saying, let's try to be competitive.
I will say
Same for the Flames. Good for them.
What I've seen of them this year, that Dubois-Wilson combination.
Large humans.
Big, mean guys, and it seems like Wilson's maybe a little bit of a fire underneath Dubois, playing with him, getting back to being a you-know-what. So,
yeah.
I've liked what I've seen from them to start the year. Yeah. I don't know if it lasts, but I give them credit for being good.
I like Dylan Strome as well.
You do, eh?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. I mean, I don't know at the end of the day if they're ready to compete and he's your number 1 centerman.
Yeah. All jokes aside, I really like Vanilla Ice Cream. I'm not just saying that, but that's kind of him to me. He's fine.
Let's play the Stamkos clip from last night, because he goes back. I mean, you see him almost crying, looking up at the Jumbotron. And the clip that I put in there is very telling. So can we play that clip there, Stamkos on his return?
I don't know when that moment comes, if it comes, if it doesn't come. I mean, it's just, like I said, when you're in this place for so long and have the memories, I mean, I don't think you can ever really completely turn the page. That's probably the reality, at least. Some people may be able to do that. I don't know. We'll see. I'll let you know if that day comes. But I don't think you completely turn the page from it. I think you appreciate it, you love it and you learn from it and then you go and try to bring some of that knowledge to a team to help them achieve some of the things we did here.
See, we spoke earlier about Vladar and just being brutally honest. Like, I don't know if I've ever heard an athlete come in and be that honest. And he's so right. I don't know too many athletes that would admit it.
No, you're right.
I'll never get over it.
It reminds me of someone like losing a family member being like, it may get easier, but I'm never going to be over this.
Can I ask you?
That's huge on him. That's a real statement.
Part of him just being like, damn, maybe I should have just taken a little less. Stayed.
Let me tell you something.
You never want to take less, and you want to be the richest guy ever.
Taking less is not what that guy's all about.
Okay.
He would never cheapen himself.
I just listened to that voice, man. I listened to him talking there.
Never, ever devalue himself, cheapen yourself.
No,
he'd feel
thinking about
he'll feel 10 times worse eating a crap sandwich.
Crap sandwich, yeah, okay.
Crap sandwich contract than getting what his truer value is.
No, this to me, that is a reflection on you.
No, it's not.
Steven Stamkos.
No, it's not. It's a reflection of good business.
For sure it's a big good business, but there's a human side of it where you say you keep your family in the place where you've been and keep the.
Do you know what the money was?
It's not about the family. It's about a team that's making you an offer where they don't want you.
Right.
Do you understand?
Yeah, and if
they're
that's
making you
case,
an offer that you can refuse, and they are banking on you not taking it. You take it, and you cheapen yourself, and you cheapen the whole thing.
Well, I don't see it as cheapening yourself. If the team doesn't want you, then you can't stay. That's
all I'm saying
undeniable.
here. I watched his whole press conference. That's the clip I pulled from it. That was the most meaningful clip. What I saw is a guy that maybe thinks he would have taken that cheap contract. Like
not a snowball's chance.
I'd take less money if the team wants you, but not if the team.
He loves those guys. He's talking about how I go for. He's like, oh, we went for dinner and it felt like nothing had changed and blah blah blah.
Yeah, riding jet skis around, winning cups, probably some good memories.
Listen,
no way.
Okay,
we do not agree.
Okay,
not the Stamkos I know.
All good.
Yeah, I mean, goes in there last night and had a pretty good night. Couple assists.
Yeah,
came back, took it to OT. Felt like he was shaping up for the fairy tale finish there, but didn't quite happen.
That's just $3 million. Still a lot of money.
Yeah,
but not for him.
No, but that's a
and
crap sandwich
not
to
for,
him.
Not for a 40-goal score.
Was it $3 million?
I don't know.
I thought it was 5. I can't remember anything.
Whatever it was, it stunk. The offer stunk.
Yeah. To me, if you don't want the guy, don't make an offer. And if I may say this.
But
out of the Toronto
they won't do that because that'll make them look really bad to their fan base.
PR thing. This is like everyone's like, yeah, Tavares may come back on a cheaper deal for the Leafs. If you don't want him, there's no dollar amount you want him at. But if you want him, maybe he'll play for less.
Well, he's a point of game player. Maybe they should sign him.
9-9, 5 goals.
All right, jam-packed show today. Our thanks to Jim Ralph in our Leaf Edition hour of the Real Kyper and Bourne Show. And then Steve Valiquette, Dr. Jason Smith. You working tonight?
No. Carbon pumpkins tonight.
Oh, you are?
Nice.
And you got your costume picked out for tomorrow night? Oh, I'd be a dad.
No.
It's not tomorrow. It's Thursday.
Hater.
Oh, Thursday? I don't even know what day it is.
Costume hater.
All right, if you get a chance and you don't catch us live, give us a download on any of the podcast platforms and give us a rating and review. We'd love to hear from you. Have a great night, everybody. We're back tomorrow.